Would you love to be less nervous in the interview and instead to be confident and empowered and feel comfortable in your skin, more in control of the process? You've come to the right place, and I've got some great tips. My name is Jane. I've coached thousands of job seekers through the job search and interview process over 35 plus years of recruiting. I can whittle all of it down to 3 words: be the Doug. The best way to describe is to tell you about a situation that happened 6 years ago. I was conducting a search for a client. They needed an entry-level finance major. I found somebody on LinkedIn, fantastic profile, super education, top 10 school, internships, and the profile picture showed a very professionally attired young man with an absolutely beaming smile, exuding confidence. I reached out. We scheduled a time to chat. On the phone, his communication style was very different. He was very low-key and projecting very low energy. My client needed somebody customer-facing, so it didn't quite match up. I explained the situation to him. I didn't think it was a good match. Wished him well. We parted friends. 2 weeks later, he emails and he says, "Can you help me? I haven't been able to get past first interviews. I've got all of these invitations to have initial phone calls and then nothing. I cannot get past the first interview. Can you help me?" Of course. We jumped on a call and I said, "I would like you to go stand in front of a full-length mirror. I want us to chat for just a moment, and I want you to tell me if your mouth is opening a lot as you speak or if it's not opening very much." We chatted, and then he said, "My mouth is not opening very much at all." Right. It has to do with enunciation. If you don't enunciate your words, then your volume goes way down and you project very low energy. What I told him to do was really pronounce the words, speak fully, and you'll find naturally that your volume increases and you project a much stronger impression. Next, I wanted him to turn sideways to the mirror and tell me where his shoulders were relative to his hips. Was he standing up straight or was he hunched over? He checked the mirror and he said, "I'm hunched over. My shoulders are in front of my hips." Right. Here's the issue. When you're hunched over, whether you're sitting or standing, you have really crunched up your lungs, and it's not possible to take a full breath. And if you cannot breathe fully, you can't oxygenate your brain. And if you can't do that, it's awfully difficult over minutes to have clear thoughts. To counter that, I asked him to go stand up against the wall, to put his heels against the wall, to put his shoulders against the wall. This was going to be his new posture, up straight. Whether he was sitting or standing, I wanted his spine straight, his shoulders over his hips. What that would do is make him appear so much more confident, and he could breathe fully. The next thing we did was to chat about Margaret Thatcher. Now, Maggie Thatcher was the first female Prime Minister of Great Britain. Very interesting changes with her speaking voice over the length of her career. Early in her political career, she had a very high, shrill, fast speaking voice, and at times I'm sure her audiences felt like she was yelling at them. As she matured and her political career matured, and I'm guessing she got some coaching, her voice dropped in pitch just a little bit and her speech slowed down quite a bit. And that projected a much more confident and empowered individual. I told this young man, whenever you feel nervous and you feel like you're starting to race with your answers, you're speaking quickly, and then what happens is you start to fall over your words, and then you get nervous even more, drop the pitch of your voice and slow it down and breathe. That oxygenates your brain and now you've got time to think about what you want to say next. The next thing we talked about was focus. When you're self-focused, and that's so natural in an interview because you want to make a good impression, you're thinking, do they like me? Was that the right answer? Am I messing up this interview? Do I still have part of my lunch on my shirt? When you're self-focused, all you can think about is, how am I messing up? I challenged him to be other focused, because if you dive into the foxhole with the person that you're talking to and your only focus is them, what's the problem? What's the pain point? How can you help? What happens is your nervousness just disappears because you're not thinking about yourself anymore. You're thinking about somebody else. It's kind of like try to look right and left at the same time. Not possible, not going to happen. The directions are mutually exclusive. And it's the same with being self-focused and other-focused. It's not possible to do both at the same time. The next thing we talked about was be the duck. Consider a duck on a pond. It looks serene and calm. Even if that duck is paddling like crazy, on the surface, the duck looks completely at peace. And I challenged him that every time he started to feel a little bit nervous, use the mantra in his head, be the duck. It doesn't matter what's going on. It can be absolute chaos about you. Be the duck. So he said he would give all of these tips a try. Off he went. A month later, he emails and he says, I just got an offer from one of the top 3 consulting companies in the country. There was never any doubt in my mind that he had incredible potential. You could see that on LinkedIn. But he just needed to adjust his communication style a little bit in order for him to take control, be more confident, be more empowered, show the interviewers he was comfortable in his skin. And then the interviewers absolutely saw every ounce of potential that was already there. It was just hidden for a moment. To review, enunciate, breathe, sit up, stand up straight. If you do feel nervous, slow your speech down just a little bit, drop the pitch. Be other focused. Be the duck. With a little bit of practice, it works instantaneously. I hope these tips have helped. For more tips, tricks, and hacks for your resume writing and job searching adventures, visit my website, survivingthejobsearch.com.